Hello and welcome to Horror Rewind. This is Kelly Florence.
This is Campbell Florence.
And this is Mark Florence.
And today we're talking about the movie Promising Young Woman. How is everybody holding up? It has been a year, and it's only the first month of 2021. But we had an interesting first week, to say the least, and then we are in the second week when we're recording this right now, and then this will air after the inauguration. So fingers crossed that everything went smoothly yesterday. So we're not being insensitive if anything didn't go smoothly. Fingers crossed it will. But wow, a lot's been going on in the world.
I'm just glad that 2021 is off to such a great start.
Campbell, how's your 2021 been going?
Good.
He's been watching CNN basically nonstop, so that's our new normal over here. But we were able to see Promising Young Woman. It is out on demand now, so make sure to check it out and rent it. I highly recommend it. That's what I'm going to say before we get into spoilers. Friends, do you agree?
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah, and the theaters just opened back up here in Minnesota, so we literally went on the first day they reopened.
This movie is 92% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. It's written and directed by Emerald Fennell. I think that's right. I had it pulled up on my phone, but my daughter's using my phone for her schoolwork right now, so that's the way it goes. Carey Mulligan is in it, and she's amazing. There's a lot of little cameos of, semi-famous people, like Adam Brody, Max Greenfield, who's Schmidt from New Girl. What is her name? Molly Shannon from SNL. There's a lot of random people, but my favorite co-star is Bo Burnham. If you've heard me talk about him before, I don't know. Maybe I have, maybe I haven't on this podcast. But Bo Burnham is literally my favorite, and he is her love interest, and he sings a song. That was my favorite. Well, one of my favorite sequences of this movie. So good.
Yeah, looking back on all my notes, all I wrote were people who were in the movie, so I'll just go through a few now. There's a lot of real short cameos. McLovin is in it. I don't even know his real name, but the guy who played McLovin. Kelly said the guy from the OC, Brody. Stifler's mom is in it. Stifler's mom from the American Pie series. And then, because that's her dad, and then, her mom, her dad is, I think, a cop from Shawshank Redemption.
It's Clancy Brown.
Clancy Brown. Was he in Shawshank?
Yeah.
Okay, that's him. Allison from Community and Mad Men.
Allison Brie, yeah.
Allison Brie. Mrs. Coach, Connie Britton.
Yes.
Is a dean of college. So, yeah, lots of good cameos.
Oh my God, so good. And this is the thing, and this is my opinion, and we've written about this in our book, The Science of Women in Horror. Like, revenge movies aren't always my favorite because we get a lot of problematic tropes and a lot of male gaze. But this movie literally started off with female gaze. Like, we see a bunch of dudes dancing in a club, and it's literally showing their stomach down, and then we see them, and it's so ridiculous because it's just like a bro-y kind of bar, and that's purposely where she is going to seek out these predators and teach them a lesson. Now we're going to get into spoilers, and so if you haven't seen the movie yet, I highly recommend that you do, and maybe come back and listen after you've seen it, because I'm going to give away, we don't know right away if she's killing these guys, if she's like marking them up like girl with the dragon tattoo. We don't know if she's just teaching them a lesson. It turns out she's just teaching them a lesson because she's acting super drunk, but she's completely sober. And they get very nervous when they realize they can't take advantage of her. And it's so gross. It's so disgusting to see. And this is true what happens to women, when these douchebag guys take advantage of them.
Yeah, she basically just goes into a bar by herself, and actually she's almost passed out, and then the guys will come over and completely take advantage of her. So that was like the opening scene with Brody from the OC. Pretty much manipulated her, got her to go back to his house, and you think she killed him, by the way everything looks. And she goes home and like marks another notch in her book. But
It was such a great sequence too because I think she's eating a hot dog, which is like also like a metaphor. And there's ketchup dripping down her hand, and there's some on her leg, and you think like, oh my God, is this blood? And she's doing the walk of shame. She's barefoot, and these construction workers are doing the cat calls. But guess what? She just stands there and stares. And then pretty soon they get angry. It's like, oh, you're not going to smile. Then they call her a B word. But I just thought that was like she turned the tables on them.
Yeah, she stared at them and made them feel uncomfortable, and then they ended up leaving. So that was pretty funny.
Oh, it was just brilliant, brilliant, brilliant writing, acting, directing. I loved how they've literally flipped the script on what not typically happens, but maybe typically, or we're not seeing her be the victim. She's playing like she could be the victim, but she never is. And also, like I said, it never goes to that place of she's not slashing throats in front of us. We don't know for a long time, and so we're like, I wonder what she's doing. And I actually I preferred how the script went, that she was just teaching them a lesson. I loved it.
Yeah, definitely. You see all these douchey guys and that she's dealing with, and then Bo Burnham comes into the coffee shop she works at.
And they went to med school together.
Yeah, she dropped out of medical school for a reason that we'll probably get into, and then he just seems like, he's different, he's nice, he's a great guy, so that's good to see.
I love when, she's basically like, I don't know, he wants to go out with her or whatever, and she spits in his coffee. And does he bring it up and then she does it? Is that what happens?
Yeah.
And then he takes it anyway and drinks it. And I was like, that's kind of hot. Like, actually, I think I would go out with him after he did that. Like, he's proving, like, hey, I like you, and that's not going to scare me away. She was trying to do something super creepy and weird, so like to get off her back, but he went in.
That was not COVID friendly, though.
No, that's not.
Do not
COVID
do
friendly.
this.
Speaking of the coffee shop she works at, her boss is Laverne Cox from Orange Is the New Black. So it was great to have a trans actress as also one of the co-stars, and she's great, and her character was really funny. Okay, so Cassie, her name is Cassie, right?
Yeah.
Cassie is going out and trying to find these dudes. We don't know why. We come to find out that she's getting revenge for her best friend Nina from medical school, who was taken advantage of by a dude or dudes. And there's a lot of people who were complicit in this, and she didn't know that the main perpetrator was back from London, and he's getting married, and he's going to have his bachelor party. Now, you think, like, this is going to, and even the previews made it look like, okay, she gets dressed up as a nurse, and, like, she's going to go and pretend to be a stripper and whatever. And you think, like, this is the big culmination, and we're going to see a bunch of throats getting slit, but it doesn't go that way. Like, that is the final sort of climax of the movie, in a way, but the buildup is just her gathering all this intel and getting to know the people that are complicit beyond this dude. So she goes to lunch with, is it the bride to be?
No.
Just a friend.
A friend, okay.
So,
oh yeah, because she's already married.
So to introduce this part, they put like an I on the screen, like the letter capital I, and you're like, what's going on? But then she goes through, and then she gets her really drunk and makes her think she slept with some guy, and then they do two I's, like two. So they're going through all the people that she's trying to get revenge on.
And so that was good too, because we didn't know, like, she's paying this dude to like go in to a former friend's hotel room. We're like, oh no, did she pay a dude to like rape her? But thank God she didn't. She just paid him to literally sit there, and then when she woke up be like, have a good day, that was fun, or whatever. And so she believed, because she couldn't remember, because she was blackout drunk. And guess what, like, that she's recreating this scenario for these people, or putting them through the trauma that Nina experienced. And Nina ended up, I think, dying by suicide, right? Because of her experience. And so it was a really clever way to set it up. Was he a professor?
Who?
Doc Ock. Okay, Alfred Molina, was that
The
his
guy
name?
with like the beard?
Yeah.
He was a lawyer.
Oh, he was the lawyer. Okay. So he decided to flip and do right. And when she exited his house, there was a guy, maybe the same guy. And she's like, nope, you don't have to go in and, intimidate him or beat him up, or I don't know what she was going to pay him to do, but she still paid him. And but that guy got left alone, and he came into play later when they had the big crackdown at the end. Can we talk about the romance a little bit?
Sure.
Yeah.
So as I said, one of my favorite sequences in this movie is she starts to date Bo Burnham. Where do they go first?
Like to a diner, I think.
Oh my gosh.
They're eating burgers, and then I think they go to a movie.
Something like that.
Yeah, they're super cute. And guess what? I, at the time, innocently enough, quote unquote, he's like, oh, like, here's my apartment. Do you want to come up for a drink? And she's like, oh no, he's just like the rest. And I like that, their first date didn't involve any sort of alcohol or anything. So he's saying like, oh, do you want to come up for a drink? And maybe it was innocent, maybe it wasn't, but she's like, oh, never mind. And she leaves. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, oh no, but I think he's a good guy. And so the next day she shows up at his office. And it's so, maybe it's his delivery or whatever, but I feel like the script really nailed his sense of humor and his timing, because he was talking about some kid with leukemia who wasn't.
Yeah, they had like a kind of quirky
Yeah.
sense of humor, like relationship thing, like where they called each other, like he called her a bitch, but it was like endearing and funny.
No, of course, and that's
Yeah.
true. Yeah. No, and that's sort of like the Bo Burnham shtick. So I loved that, and it was perfect. He was so adorable, and like when he met her parents, that was really funny. He kept complimenting the sauce, because the dad's like, I made the sauce for the food. It was super cute. And then they are at like a Walgreens or a CVS or a Duane Reade, and a Paris Hilton song comes on.
Yeah, I didn't recognize it.
I didn't either, but I'm gonna download it on my playlist immediately. He's like, oh, and he starts dancing to it and singing along, and it turns into this montage of that under that song, or over that song. We see them just basically falling in love and being together, and I'm like, this is perfect, and I love them. I'm so happy that she has like a decent dude. Oh, also, in the meantime, or previous to that, he ended up catching her in the act of trying to lure a guy.
She told him she couldn't go out with him one night, and then she went out to try to like do her thing where she like pretends she's drunk. And when she's leaving the bar with some dude, he's walking in and he's like, Cassie, and then they have an awkward exchange, and you think they're gonna break up, but they end up making up.
Now, one of the nice twists after we've built all of that up is that, of course they were in medical school together, and so Bo Burnham, I can't remember his character name. It doesn't matter. Oh, Brian. Okay, thanks. I just keep calling him Bo Burnham. He was in this circle of friends, and he is on the video. She ended up getting the video from. Did she get it from?
She got it from the first person.
Allison Brie.
Yeah,
Yep.
the person with the eye, just the single, like one.
Mm-hmm.
She gave her old phone that had the video of
Her friend getting
taken advantage
basically
of.
taken advantage of at a party. Yep.
Yeah.
But there's lots of people around, and unfortunately, Ryan. Ryan?
Yeah.
You can hear Ryan's voice. Like, what is he saying? I can't remember.
I don't remember.
Whatever he's saying is not
It was not great.
So you're thinking this guy's just such a sweetheart angel, but just shows you like these regular type guys can be complete d-bags.
So yeah, it was a good gut punch, because they set it up so like, oh, not all men, and that's true. Yet, even a seemingly nice guy like this with a successful career and a great sense of humor could also be a douchebag and have a troubling past. Not that he couldn't change in the future, but he was complicit at the time and never came forward, and so it's a problem.
People kept giving the excuse like, "Oh, we were kids, you know, that was so long ago," and you know, she was really drunk. People were saying, "Oh, she drank too much, so it's like her fault." That's the trick she played on Connie Britton, who was the dean of the college, who actually heard the complaint and didn't choose to do anything about it. Like when it happened, she said she kidnapped her daughter, and she was hanging out in a dorm with a bunch of dudes.
She was hanging out in the dorm where her friend got advantage of. She dropped her off at that dorm with the boys that live there now.
And then she's like, "Oh, I'm just," because she tricked her by saying this boy band was in town or something. So she had her phone. So her mom went to call her daughter, and Cassie had her phone. So that really turned the table of like, oh, it's real when it's your kid, but you know, if it's somebody else, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but it turned out that she actually didn't. She dropped her off at a diner on the way there and told her that the boy band would be coming. So she didn't end up doing it, but she managed to get the dean to get really emotional about it.
Yeah, and that's, I think, I mean, that's what the great theme of this movie is. It's so many things that actually happen, and what people actually say, and how you have to convince people. It's like, oh, what if it was your wife or daughter? It's like, well, what if it's a person? It doesn't have to be somebody you know or are related to. It has to just be a person.
I thought this movie really showed what some guys are like. Like they wanted her to be really drunk, and then when she kind of like came back that she was sober, they were like, "What's going on?" They're all like upset and stuff. So I was like, "Come on now."
Oh, it was so good. So well acted, and I love how many, like, I don't want to say famous people, because I know maybe they're not all famous, but within my orbit, like my world, I recognized most of the guest stars, you know, and that was fun. Like, I know they got them because people wanted to sign on for this movie, I assume. It was incredible, and I know when it was able to be released at festivals, early 2020, it was a hit, and it was supposed to be in theaters in April, got pushed back all the way to now, I guess, January, or did it? No, it opened on Christmas, I think.
So it's Academy Award eligible?
It is.
Because, like, are they going to have it this year?
They are.
How many movies came out?
A lot of movies. I mean,
Oh,
not
really?
in the theater.
A lot. Like,
well, not in all theaters.
Compared to usual, though, probably, what, a quarter of the movies, maybe?
I don't know. But a lot of movies opened in, you know, a couple theaters here and there, and then went to VOD. So it's definitely an interesting time for movies. And I think this is what I feel like. I think that we have been able to discover more hidden gems because of word of mouth and things that we are able to stream, versus, oh, here's the next number one blockbuster that came out this weekend, let's all go see it. Because a lot of those got held back because they want to make that big box office money. And so I'm guilty of that. I would flock to every Marvel movie, or, you know, we would have seen Tenet had it been safe, and that's not doing great in the reviews. I shouldn't speak about it because we haven't seen it yet. But, you know, at the same time, it's like, it sort of changed my thinking about film. I love the movie theater experience, obviously. But maybe this has opened people's eyes to, like, hey, I'm not going to just necessarily go see every mega blockbuster. I'm going to check out these other films. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just know we've been, you know, streaming a lot and just looking through Netflix, Hulu, whatever the other one is, Amazon. We found some hidden gems. We've also found some misses on some shows that you just kind of... My litmus test is if people are looking at their phone the whole time during a show or movie, and if, like, both people are, like, kind of looking at their phone, it's probably not that, like... engaging of a show. I mean, I should just put my phone away, obviously, but I don't know.
No, but it's true. If I am, if I really want to watch a show, then my phone is down, and, like, you can't get me on my phone. But
So I always say you have to watch the show on your phone.
Yeah,
Because then
I-
you can't. It's harder to do stuff on it.
well, that's true. So speaking of that, we're going to come back to Promising Young Woman, but I want to talk about my latest obsession. It's Cobra Kai. We finished all 3 seasons. I won't give spoilers because you just need to watch this show, but it is so good, and I was so late to the party, but I'm very thankful that I decided one night after so many people had tweeted about it, how amazing it was. I'm like, well, I guess I'll see. Like, I don't know if I'm going to like this or not, because I didn't know how good it would be or what it would be about, but it is endearing and hilarious and lovable and so great, and I think it's exactly what we need in the world right now. It's very pure, and I love Johnny Lawrence. I never thought I'd say that. Sorry, Mark.
Yeah, Kelly's obsessed with Johnny Lawrence. That's like all she talks about.
I know, I'm sorry.
She just tries to be him. And he's like I don't know if anti-hero is the right word, but
Yeah.
he's down on life, he's down on his luck, and he's just kind of I don't know, doofus. Sort of.
He's a lovable doofus, but
Yeah,
guess what?
yeah.
He's changing and he's learning and
Yeah,
he's growing,
yeah,
and that's why
yeah.
I love him so much. That's what makes a good character.
Definitely.
And I never thought twice about him. I was a Karate Kid super fan when it came out. I was telling these two, we had the physical record of the soundtrack, and I would listen to it all the time, and I'd pretend to do karate.
How old are you?
Yeah, I'm old, okay? And the other day I actually had to ask myself that question because I feel like 2020 didn't happen. I'm like, wait, how old? Did I have a birthday? I guess I did. But I was obsessed. And like I was Googling, and there were all of these pictures of the actor, William Zabka, who plays Johnny Lawrence. Like, he had all these pictures in like Tiger Beat and stuff, but I never hung them on my wall. Like, I guess I would have hung Ralph Macchio at the time. But can we talk about how young Ralph Macchio has always looked and still looks?
Yeah.
I mean, he looked younger than you, Campbell, and you're 13. He looked younger than you when he was 22 and filmed the first Karate Kid, and I think he looks amazing for 60.
Yeah, it's hard to believe he and Matthew Zabka are
William.
William. No, Matt Zabka's a kid from my high school.
Oh, hey, shout out.
It's hard to believe they're both like 60. They look really good for their age, and but then they show some of the other guys from Cobra Kai, and they don't look as good for their age.
Aw. But we love them too. I love, okay, yeah, so that's maybe a spoiler, but they do bring back a lot of original cast members, and it's amazing. It's so good. It's so good.
So I grew up more in the Sidekicks era.
Oh my god.
And we attempted to watch it last night, and it was not as good and high quality as I remembered it.
Oh, Mark, I'm so sorry.
We couldn't even find it on a streaming service. We were watching the full movies on YouTube. So that's all you need to know about that.
I can't even believe that that's a real movie. So, Mark, will you just explain the premise?
Jonathan Brandis is a dreamer of sorts in high school, and he always has these daydreams that he and Chuck Norris are like doing karate together and so, like fighting wars and stuff. And I don't know. I gotta see the end. I think we made it about halfway through last night, but I remember it being better than it was, but maybe it gets better. Winnie Cooper's in it from Wonder Years, so that's good. But yeah, Chuck Norris is in it, Jonathan Brandis, so I mean, they got a pretty good cast.
I feel like it's self-insert fanfic, you know? Like, I feel like this is like a fanfic that someone would write, like, oh, I wish I could do this, and then they made it into a screenplay.
But the action isn't very good. It's real cheesy. I don't know.
I'm so sorry, Mark.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I mean, I used to watch the movie like a ton. Like, I don't even know why, but that was my version of Karate Kid. So.
Oh. Okay, let's get back to Promising Young Woman. We have to talk about this climax. They are having a bachelor party for this dude, the perpetrator, and Cassie shows up in this amazing wig, And she's got all of her gear like ready to go.
And they're like, "Oh, I thought you told us not to order a stripper." Or, I don't know. I thought I told you guys not to get a stripper. So, but everyone just thought somebody else ordered.
Of course,
ordered a
it's
stripper.
the perfect cover.
Yep.
And she's like, "Let's go upstairs," and he's
She,
like,
well, first of all, she's like, "Guys, I'll get down on your knees," and then she has like a bottle that
I
she
forgot,
put
yeah.
some stuff in,
she drugged them
some
all.
roofie in, and so she gives them all a shot out of the bottle, and so they're all passed out except for the perp guy.
And she says, like, "Let's go upstairs," and he's like, "No, I can't because I'm getting married and I'm not going to cheat on my wife." And she's like, she kind of whispers to him, like, "You don't have to actually do anything, but just come upstairs." So she gets him up there and she handcuffs him to the bed. And then she reveals her true intention and who she is and what he did.
Yeah, I can't remember if she was going to kill him, or they were like struck. Okay, Campbell.
I remember she was talking about how whenever, like, after that event, whenever she was like walking down the hall, that people would only say like his name, which is Al. They'd only like say that, like that was the name. Like I think she said like attached to her, so then she was gonna attach her name to him, and so then she brought up like carving
that's
tools,
what
like
it
she was
was.
gonna carve.
Yeah, she was gonna carve.
What's her name again?
Nina.
Nina. She was gonna carve Nina all over him with a knife.
That's when he got out of the handcuffs and they started fighting, or if one of his hands got out of the handcuffs.
And so this is a very, it's graphic, but it's not gory, if that makes sense. He suffocates her with a pillow, and I was like, no, like my hands were covering my mouth. I'm like, this can't be happening. And Mark, you said you kind of called it. I'm like, wait, is she faking this? And I literally asked each of you in the movie. Mark is like, maybe she is sacrificing herself, or she knew this would happen. And I mean, it definitely comes into play. Max Greenfield and this dude, they end up dismembering and burning the body. But guess what? At the wedding, right after the ceremony, all of these pre-programmed text messages start coming through to Bo Burnham's phone, and the police show up, and it is on. In the meantime, prior to this, like, they have a little thing where a cop, it's a male cop, I think that was on purpose, like, he goes to see Bo Burnham, and Bo Burnham's a little bit nervous, but he's just like, "Oh, you're an upstanding guy, and like, of course you don't know where she is." And he's like, "Yeah, she was messed up, she was having problems." So, they think that she did something to herself, but of course we find out she was effing murdered.
Yeah, it was interesting to see how far these guys go to, like, because they want to protect their like career and their themselves, and they don't really
Their
care.
reputation.
Yeah, their reputation. Like,
Yet they would throw the reputation of a woman under the bus, like,
Yeah.
so like looking at it at the flip side, it's like, oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, they're doctors, and they're like, high members of society, so like they kind of think that maybe they're like immune from consequences, getting in trouble. So thought that was kind of interesting.
It totally surprised me. It blew my mind. I was obviously sad the way that she died in the end. Who did she leave her necklace to? Her boss?
Yeah, her boss at the coffee shop.
And so, she had her best friend necklace with Nina, and Laverne Cox then got the other half in the end. But holy crap, I loved it so much. Okay, should we rank it?
Sure.
Yeah.
On a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being you hated it, 10 being you think it's a perfect movie, what's our scale? You know what I want to use? I want to use her multicolored fingernails, because I'm going to paint my fingernails like that tomorrow.
All right.
So her colorful fingernails, how many do you give Promising Young Woman, Campbell?
I give it a 9.
Mark?
I'm gonna give it 9 fingernails. yeah, it was good to get back in the theater again. Very, very socially distanced. I'm just throwing that out there. Yeah, I didn't know anything about the movie going in, and it kind of threw everything you thought might happen and kind of turned it around. Like, if in the beginning you thought she was a serial killer, you didn't really know where she was coming from.
Or you thought she was going to be a victim.
Yeah.
Then you thought she's a serial killer. So it's like twist upon twist upon twist.
Yes, that's true. And even the end wasn't what you expected. So I feel like a lot of movies follow a similar formula, and this one really didn't. Like, Bo Burnham's this nice guy, and they're finally going to find like this great relationship and all that, but then that turned bad too. So
okay, friends, guess what I'm giving it? I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. I freaking love this movie. I loved it for all of those reasons you said. I don't know why you each knocked a plane off, but I'll forgive ya. It was so good. It was amazing, and I'm going to watch it again in 2 days when it comes out on demand. So, I mean, it's already out on demand for you listening, but we're going to watch it with Meg.
All right.
sounds good to me.
All right, speaking of Meg, tell us what you've been reading.
Hi, Rewinders. It's Meg with another book corner here on Horror Rewind. And I'm really excited to talk about the book today. This is one of those times where it's going to be really hard because I want to discuss the book in detail, but I believe the best thing to do is tell you spoiler free so that you can go out and buy this book and support this author. So this book, I've been reading a lot of indie books lately. This one isn't quite as under the radar. In fact, it's quite over the radar. Is that how you say it? It is The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. This is my first time reading this author, although now I've gone back and checked out his other books, and I have one here that I've already bought. I haven't read it yet, but this book will definitely, if you haven't read him, will definitely make you want to read more. So this book has been very popular in like best of 2020 lists and has had buzz all 2020. It came out earlier, I almost said this year, earlier last year. And I just kept hearing wonderful things about it. I have not heard anything not wonderful about it. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to check it out. Well, I bought it a couple months ago and I just hadn't got to it yet. It was sitting on my shelf, getting dust on it. So I don't know what inspired me, but I felt like it was time to read it. And it's a beautiful hardcover right now. So why do you need to read this book? Well, after all the buildup and everybody saying how amazing it was even more amazing than I thought it was going to be. A lot of times, expectation is everything. And since it was so built up, I was kind of thinking like, how could this possibly be as good as everybody says? But it really, really is. It's taking a literary fiction story and a horror story, and I'm talking horror, like it's not light on the horror, and really pushing and pulling them together in the way that I love, which is these characters that you become so invested in. Lewis, our sort of main character at the beginning, is someone I just instantly gravitated toward, even though he lives such a different life. He grew up on a reservation. He's, Indian. He refers to himself as Indian. They all do. I felt a sort of kinship with him. He loves to read. He's a nice guy, but then things start to go a little sideways and you start to sort of go on this journey with him mentally. And it is fascinating. And if you've read the book, you know that moment that I'm talking about. There's this watershed moment at the end of the first act where you're just like absolutely blown away. I think as, a suburban white mom, who loves horror, I get drawn to books that are about people like me. And sometimes we forget to read books about people that are not like us. I tend to go for, the Riley Sager books and things like that, where, it's a woman, maybe a suburban woman, a woman who lives in the city, that type of thing, where I can find some sort of common ground with. But it's really easy to forget that we should be exploring different worlds and cultures. And, that's why a lot of people like science fiction and all those sorts of things, because you can go into all these vast worlds with these new characters. And the thing is, we have to remember is we can find empathy in everyone. And even though this was a story about this group of young guys, and this is 10 years later, but we kind of go into the past of these group of 4 Native men, and they end up having kind of a snafu when they go hunting. And like for me, I don't like hunting. There's a lot of aspects to their character where I might be like, oh, I don't know if the story's for me, but oh my God, it was so amazing. And I'm so, so glad that I was introduced to Jones, because not only were his characters delightful, his horror excellent, but he writes with a poetic grace that, I absolutely am jealous of. So this will not be my last Stephen Graham Jones book. And, this book is everywhere. There's a reason it's on all the best of 2020 lists. I think, I'd be surprised. I'm sure it already has won some awards. I'm sure it'll win some more. It's just a really, really engrossing book. It's 300 pages, and I read it in like 2 days, because I just couldn't stop. I had to find out what was going to happen next. And it's just written in a really, a way that makes you just have to keep reading. And I mean, he just hits all the notes. So please go out and buy The Only Good Indians. It's so damn good. And really, you will be so happy that you did. So check that book out, and there's some good gore in it, and you will love it. All right. Thanks for listening, Rewinders.
Oh, we hope that you are having a good week. We hope we all are, because we're, of course, recording this before this is airing. So be safe, stay well, and until next time, we'll see you in the horror section.
See you in the horror section.
Bye.